So why did we do Cook and Eat? I was reading this on the train and I thought, that doesn't read very well. Actually, there was a lack of interest in seeing me, but I didn't take it personally, to be honest. I think it was an extra appointment. We decided, I started in 2013 when we got Best Practice Tariff, and they hadn't had a dietitian before, and then they had a full-time, whole-time equivalent. And one of the things that Best Practice Tariff asked us to do is to offer an extra appointment with a dietitian. So I thought, okay, I'll invite you to an extra appointment. And we did it for 12 months, and we didn't have many people signing up for it. Even with a telephone reminder service, lots of people cancelled. So we had lots of sort of empty capacity. And also my DNA rate was absolutely phenomenal, wasn't it? 39.6%. Okay, so they voted with their feet, and I thought, all right, even though I will go out and do home visits and see you at home, there needs to be something changing here. There's also, of course, with your peer review, we need to provide some structured education as well. So we started carb counting at diagnosis when I first started, and we had a sort of a bespoke carb counting program, but take-up was dwindling because actually they were all carb counted from diagnosis, and all the ones who hadn't had that at diagnosis had been pretty much trained and up to date. So we needed to rethink our structured education for nutrition and dietetics as well. I went to the Sheffield Teaching Skills course that Julie Knowles does with Anne, and they talked a lot about actually how do we teach young people and the techniques for making sure that the education that we provide for children is heard. And I did like John's slide where he said, include the children and they will learn, whereas if you tell them something, then they were likely to forget. So we used those learning techniques as well to try and improve our structured education program. Now I'm going to switch slides a little bit. So Cook and Eat, we decided first of all to set up the secondary school age, and I piloted this in a couple of schools, and we went to the schools themselves and said, please can we use your food tech rooms, and would you mind funding the ingredients from the pupil PREM? And the school that I chose to do the pilot was a school with a very high deprivation index, and they were really happy to support us with that. So I went in to the school and recruited about 7 children, because we had quite a large number with type 1 diabetes. And I think we did about 4 sessions. And I realised after that very first session how little our children knew about carbohydrate counting. And that actually was a bit of a big surprise for me. So I firstly put in far too much information, and I also made the maths far too complicated. So that was a huge learning point for me, using the pilot studies about how we were going to inform Cook and Eat. So after those first couple of sessions and piloting it again, we decided to streamline it down to 2 sessions, just an hour and a half. We cook a savoury for the first session and we cook a sweet for the second session. They love the sweet session, so they always come back for the second one. That's always a good tag to do. And we made the maths a lot simpler and the recipes a lot healthier. I actually realised that children struggle with reading, particularly those with a high deprivation index. So I had to change the recipes into pictorial, easy to read instructions, really sort of short, sharp messages for them as well. And the carbohydrate counted needed to be as simple as possible. Because I was doing that in schools, I can't get to every single school. So there are a number of children who there's only one child in that particular school, and it wouldn't be efficient to go out. So I do that if I've got more than 3 children in a particular school, then I'll go out into their particular school and do that. So I had to invite the others into the half term. So then I needed to find a venue, and our venues for the half-term sessions are based in a community school, so not those that are funded for a private finance initiative. And I pay for that school, so they're very good, and they just charge a small fee of about £10 a week for doing that, £10 an hour for doing that. So that was our Cook and Eat Family Fun. We invite years 7 to 11. It started off with just the children with diabetes, but then they were bringing a friend with them as well. They really like that peer support and actually their friends understanding a little bit more about their diabetes. And I'll just put the costs in there. So after we did the pilot and organised this for our secondary age, we brought in the family fun sessions. So these happen in the school holidays. And again, it's the same schools that we use, but we invite, they have to have a parent with them because again, they're younger children and we need that for supervision. And we invite everyone in the caseload up to year 7. So they're allowed to come with their siblings because then that's better for getting from school holidays. You don't have to try and get childcare, so you get a better uptake with that as well. And those are the costs per head. So we found actually Cook and Eat was really positive engagement for our young children with diabetes. So in particular, we have a large number of children coming to our family fun sessions, and we have about 77 or so, including their parents and their siblings as well. We have a very high repeat attendance rate, so about 17 children have come to both of the family fun sessions, and another 7 have actually attended all 3. And of course, as they graduate through the family fun sessions, they've had fun, they've enjoyed it, they want to come back, they ask their parents, when are we going to go back in and do Cook and Eat? And then they say, when it comes up to the secondary age, brilliant. When are we going to have it? When's it going to happen? And how can we do that? So I am noticing in the secondary age that they are increasing year on year with our attendance. Oh, I'm just going the wrong way here. So what we do is with our family fun sessions, I make the maths really simple. So I make the recipes as simple as they possibly can. They're all healthy, they're all low fat, they're all low sugar, they all contain fibre, trying to get one vegetable or fruit in either of those recipes. So it fits the whole sort of the tagline of actually what is healthy foods as well for them. And we play carbohydrate games about identifying carbohydrates. We make it fun and we make it interactive. If we're doing a little bit more complicated recipes, because they do ask me, we want to make chocolate cake, or we want to do this, and we want to do the sweet stuff, or we want to make pancakes. So what I have done is I've done worksheets for them, and if it's a very complicated recipe, I'll work out the carbohydrates, but they have to match the pictures. So we can even get the young children involved with doing the carb counting independently, and that is so important for them to really feel like that they're achieving this themselves and independently on their own. Getting parents to stay out of it sometimes can be a little bit more tricky. When they move on to the secondary age, then we add in a little bit more multiplication and division, so we increase the steps for the maths up to their abilities as well. They enjoy it. Yeah, and it's really beneficial because they actually come to me in clinic and they say, what are we cooking next time? And what can we cook? And can we do this? And can we do that? And I'll even do recipes for them and send them at home. So it's a real engagement with me as a dietitian actually in clinic settings and when we're doing the sessions as well. So we do these little sort of one-word summations and actually find out what they think about Cook and Eat. This is only based on 19 adults, so that's my next thing that I'm going to work on is increasing our uptake of how we can get PREM done better in clinic. But just to show you that it is increasing year on year, that they are happy with their input with carb counting. HbA1c isn't an appropriate outcome for Cook and Eat. It's not something that we're looking at. I'm actually looking at educating children about their food and carbohydrate counting, and we're using age-appropriate tools and resources, and we're repeating this every year so they have a chance to build on their knowledge year after year and actually develop and become independent with their carb counting. So I do look at knowledge, I do a quiz beforehand, and this really helps me with their assessment, and actually I found that Cook and Eat really helps me know where the kids are at, what they understand about carbohydrates, and where I need to target my education during the year in the clinics as well. So I'm actually quite surprised that they find it difficult to identify those foods that have carbohydrates. That's probably one of the first things that you need to know. I'm not surprised with the fact that they found it difficult to do the maths per 100 grams and work out how much carbohydrate is in that, because actually that gives their parents a bit of a headache as well. I check the quiz at the beginning of every single year, so I will be able to track each year how children have improved. Just comparing year on year, these statistics are increasing, but they're not, sort of transferable because they're going to be different children taking part. So these are the things that our children find most difficult. It's working out the amount per 100 grams. It's working out when it's saying how much there is in a half or a fifth of the packet, and actually are they eating all of it. So it's those sort of basic maths that we're looking at, and just building on the work that they're doing in schools. And again, it's going to be sort of very age dependent and where they are in their own literacy and numeracy journey as well. So those are the things that we concentrate on in Cook and Eat, is trying to get those skills up. So the things that we're going to plan next, because we've got our school-aged children covered, but actually what about those when they leave school? And these are a pretty difficult group to engage anyway, so I'm looking at doing Cook and Eat on a budget, so alongside with our adult diabetes specialist nurse, not just about food, but also about living independently, cooking for their own, budgeting. We're going to slip in a bit of alcohol and safety when they leave, so a little bit of a sort of transition topic as well. And we do Tree of Life with our psychology team, and we're going to do Cook and Eat at lunchtime as well, so I can get more people coming in and practicing those skills. And I think that's the problem, is that though you can teach them in that one-off once-a-year session, actually, if it's not being used regularly at home, and they're not being supported to do this at home, then they drop off those skills. So I was sitting in the train on the way up, and I'm thinking of doing Cook and Eat every week. And actually maybe engaging families with once a week you cook with your child, once a week you carb count with your child, and once a week you all sit down and you eat a healthy meal together. So that's my next campaign. So thank you for the inspiration of letting me have a train journey on the way up here. Who knows, I might do some YouTube stuff with Connor and put that online, and I can do some recipe stuff, all sorts of stuff. They ask for the recipes, so I do send them to them with a letter with a summary of what the children have learned and the things that I want them to work on for the next year. But they've all asked for a cookery book, so who knows, that might be another project for me to do, is to get all those recipes down. So if you want to do it, I'm really happy to share resources. So those are my details that you can ask for. You need to do a risk assessment for your trust, but also get the risk assessment from the school, because you just want to make sure knife safety. We always do a safety briefing with children, but they'll cut themselves and they'll burn themselves as well. So you need to have a little bit of a basics on first aid as well. It's about getting hold of those secondary schools. That's the biggest thing, is getting your venue. So find a good school, speak to the Key Stage 3, get them on side, teach, sort of sell it that you're giving them cooking skills, life skills, math skills. You're going to develop some of the work they're doing in school, then they'll see the benefit of that. It also benefits their community as well. You do need to do, I did my first pilot session with me on my own. No, you do need help, because actually if you do have a child in trouble or having hypo or needing your support, you do need to make sure nobody else is cutting themselves and burning themselves. And also it's really nice to have somebody doing some washing up for you as well. In this day and age of not having any money, we went to some trust funds, and there are lots of local sort of charitable trusts around, and they're really supportive of children. So fill in application forms, just put in charitable trust. Go and talk to your youth service, because they've got lots of links and taps into various funding pots for youth leaders, because I'm youth leader in my village, so I know where to tap people up for money. So we got about £2,000 from the Norman Charitable Trust, which we're really grateful for. Also, our local group has been fundraising, and they said that they would, fund groups in their locality as well. And supermarkets give me donations, so they'll give me a card to pay for ingredients, so that all helps as well. So if you're struggling with engagement, even though food and Cook and Eat works for us in our model, actually, if you're struggling with engagement, these are the three things that I want you to take away, is that if you can provide food and you can make your sessions fun and you make them free, they will come. Any questions?